Hello everyone, welcome to my political journalism news channel. The story for today is Scott Morrison is in some trouble. His colleagues know it and they don't know how the Prime Minister can get out of it. The mob has gone off him, one Liberal MP says of the national mood. They've identified a cycle of disgruntlement and complaints sweeping the nation that's eroded any advantage of incumbency. Finding fault in the Commonwealth has become the population's instinct, curated by crafty premiers and fueled by criticism of the vaccine rollout and anger over shortages of rapid antigen tests over summer. Whatever the possible shortcomings elsewhere, in this case, the New South Wales government's response, the coalition fears the Prime Minister's become the go-to political whipping boy. So there was understandable anticipation, and in some government circles, anxiety, about what a stroll among the sodden and suddenly homeless might bring. He is bracing himself for another Cobargo, one minister said before Morrison landed, in reference to the hostile reception the PM received during the bushfire crisis 2 years ago. Morrison's mind is decided against a Lismore Street walk. Probably wise. It might be proved ugly given the strained tempers acknowledged by the PM. I absolutely understand the frustration, I understand the anger, I understand the disappointment, I understand the sense of abandonment, he said. But he still needed to be seen ready to help, heal and support the rebuild, with a combination of household support and subsequent packages for farmers and businesses. Declaring a national emergency is as much done for the political atmospherics as it is for the difference it might make on the soggy ground. When the electorate is ready-made for resentment, Morrison's aware the federal response must be generous and seen to be generous, even if, as his allies disclose, his intent is to ensure, somehow, that New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet cops blame too. That's because refloating trust in the PM has become a critical task for the coalition, given we could be just 66 days from an election. Anthony Albanese taunted the coalition, even asserting he knew when we will go to the polls. They'll call the election within a week of the March 29 budget, he told a business summit in Sydney. The election will be called for May 14, sometime between April 3 and April 6, the Labor leaders growing in confidence as the PM runs out of options, and time, to restore the coalition's stocks. And it infuriates government MPs. Anthony Albanese has not made the case for change, although there is a mood for change, 1 Megapixel says. Albanese and his strategists appear to have anticipated this state of mind among some voters. I'm not proposing revolution but I am looking for renewal, he told business leaders. Albanese continues to portray himself as the safe option, the continuity player, who'll do it better and without aggravating the business sector. We must rediscover the spirit of consensus that former Labor Prime Minister Bob Hawke used to bring together governments, trade unions, businesses and civil society around their shared aims of growth and job creation, he said. If Labor is successful in the coming federal election, I will take my lead from Bob Hawke and his successor, Paul Keating. By emphasizing renewal, Albanese's dusting off Kevin Rudd's tactic in his bid to take down John Howard. Rudd didn't claim to be the revolutionary either. Instead, his public projection was that of a younger version of Howard who could offer a comfortable transition from liberal blue to ALP red. It's a deliberate contrast to Bill Shorten's 2019 campaign, which proclaimed virtue in adventurous, redistributive propositions on tax, interventionist proposals on wages and a forward-leaning climate change stance. Albanese claims to be the peacemaker, after a lost decade, and the first step is to put climate and culture wars behind us and focus on what matters, the national interest, he said. Beige better than bold, so, determined to avoid any comparison to Shorten's ambitious, transformative agenda, Albanese dropped from his scripted speech a Whitlam-esque It's Time reference when promising an ending to the climate wars, replacing it with the less sparkly and it's time that we did just that. Better being beige if it means more attention on your opponent. Historical contrasts are everywhere at the moment, and not just the Lismore-Cobargo comparison being made today. One coalition MP posits that Morrison's government has become a victim of its own successes during the pandemic, in the same way that the Rudd government was in the aftermath of the global financial crisis. Go early, go hard and go households, then Treasury Secretary Ken Henry advised the Rudd government. Labor threw the kitchen sink at protecting jobs and the economy. And it worked. Recession dodged. Barely a scratch, so successful in fact that Tony Abbott was able to turn the GFC into a net negative for Labor, with claims it had been profligate and wasteful. The Morrison government threw the kitchen sink, the house and the kids' inheritance at the pandemic, bankrolling a hibernating economy and the impact of closed international and domestic borders. Many lives and livelihoods have been saved. Senior coalition figures only wish the gratitude hadn't so quickly dissipated. Albanese might have scratched it from his speech today, but coalition figures say there's an unmistakable and unforgiving its time factor settling in among voters, even if there's limited interest in the Labour leader in some quarters. Luck and longevity aren't Morrison's friends at the moment. If he were to pull a rabbit from the hat at this late stage, chances are it would have myxomatosis. That is all for Today News. Thank you for watching to my channel. Please be sure to leave your comment and subscribe below for more news update.